Hi guys, it's Tammy from Shrinking Violet DS, and today is Wednesday. I wrote June 26th. It's September 26th. I don't know where my head was when I wrote this down. Anyway, I am going to do my spiel and then I'm going to go into other stuff. I had traditional duodenal switch surgery on March 9, 2017 with Dr. Antonio Esquerra at Mexicali Bariatric Clinic in Mexicali, Mexico. I started my pre-op diet on February 19th of 2017 at 260 pounds. I had my surgery March 9 of 2017 at 248 pounds. And today I weigh 134.6. And as most of you know, last week I said it was PMS parade of carbs. I think I said it. It was, if I didn't say it. And today I started my period. So those 2 pounds, 4 pounds, because usually I'm 130.2, 4.4 pounds, those will go away by the end of the week. So I still consider that I'm maintaining just fine. Okay, so I had talked in the past about doing a topical video and about the duodenal switch, because there are not that many duodenal switch people on YouTube. We're getting more and more, but still not that many. And so I was going to do advice specifically geared towards the duodenal switch, not because I don't love my VSGers, absolutely do, and RNY, but just so that I could fill in maybe some gaps out there that are missing for DSers. So VSG, hopefully it'll be interesting for you. If not, won't hurt my feelings at all if you want to turn off. I understand. So what I've decided to do is, because there is a lot of information, I'm going to break this up into sections. So today I'm going to do what I think is important for people to do pre-op when they are deciding to have the duodenal switch or have decided. So first of all, number one, no matter what surgery you're getting, no matter what surgery you're thinking of getting, research, 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 research. If you don't know what's out there, how can you make an informed choice? You know, a lot of people let their surgeon tell them what's the best. Surgeons don't necessarily know what's best. They know what they know, but maybe you've got somebody that specializes in one particular surgery. They're not going to tell you necessarily that something else is better for you, because they're running a business. They're not running a charity. and they have no fiduciary responsibility to you. So yeah, it's incumbent upon you to do your own research. So definitely research. And that goes doubly for DSers, because the DS is a pretty drastic surgery. I think I said last week that there seems to be a DS type, and that tends to be older. It tends to be more serious, research-oriented people, people who tend to be methodical. It's really interesting. When you meet other DSers, they do tend to have these things in common. So I think that if more people would research ahead of time, they might find that the DS is for them. You know, a lot of DS patients these days are actually revisions from the VSG. And that's because maybe they didn't know the DS existed. And so they got the VSG. It was great for 3 or 4 years. And then they started to eat around it. And my physician, my surgeon, the way he explained it to me is that the VSG will take the weight off because of the restriction. The duodenal switch portion is what keeps the weight off because of the malabsorption. Having said that, the other reason research is important is because it is a huge commitment, that post-op life. You definitely need to research that and see if you're up for it. If you're a person who can't stick to a regimen for vitamins, it's not for you. If you cannot commit to eating properly, and by properly, I don't necessarily mean that you need to eat, you know, fruits and vegetables and things like that, because that's not really a great DS diet. I also don't mean that you're never going to eat crap food. What I mean is you're going to eat. And that's important because you do have that malabsorption, so you've got to have the calories. My caloric intake for maintenance is 3,000 to 5,000 calories a day. And the reason there's such a broad range in there is because of fat. The more fat I have, the more calories I need to have, simply because I malabsorb 80% of the fat. And that's the other thing. You need to research the malabsorption portion, because that's what's going to affect you the most. And so it's, some people disagree with the numbers that I was given, but I've been pretty successful basing my eating and my life off of these numbers, so I honestly don't think that they can be that far off. I was told by my surgeon that I malabsorb about 80% of fat calories. I malabsorb about 55% of protein calories, 45% of complex carbohydrate calories, and zero. I malabsorb zero, which means I do absorb every single simple carb calorie. So if I put a piece of something sugary in my mouth, the minute it hits my tongue, it starts to absorb. Those calories, simple carbs, absorb in your mouth. So, yeah, know that. Let's see. The other thing you need to research for is the changes in your digestion after the duodenal switch. You won't dump because you still have your pylorus valve. So unlike the gastric bypass, you won't have that problem, but you will be gassy. You will have more malodorous stools, and you will probably, for the first year, have very soft stools. It's important to know because let me tell you, it affects how you plan, where you go, literally, your family situation. If you have a large family all sharing one bathroom, they're not going to be very happy with you. Make sure you have a good fan and lots of air freshener. Best really to have your own bathroom. So it's important to know. You will be gassy, especially if you eat simple carbs or lactose. Absolutely, I can watch my stomach blow up like a balloon. So it's important to know that. Another part of the research that I recommend to people ahead of time is to go on YouTube and watch. There's an animation of the surgery. Now you can also go on there and there is video of an actual duodenal switch surgery, which is fantastic. I've watched it, but a lot of people aren't so into the blood and guts part, literally blood and guts. So the animation works really well, and you can see exactly how they transect the duodenum and reattach it and all of that. And so I highly recommend that people go online. You've got to understand what's been done to your body. If you don't understand what's been done to your body, you can't explain it to someone else, and you can't expect your primary care physician or somebody like that who has no experience with this whatsoever to be willing to do that research themselves. You have to be able to tell them. Or if you get in an accident or you end up in the emergency room for something, it doesn't necessarily have to be related to your DS, but it's important for you to be able to explain what has happened to your body. You know, it'd be like having your appendix out and not knowing that your appendix has been taken out entirely. Just saying, yeah, they did something to my appendix, but I don't know what. That's not right. Or, you know, having a heart transplant, but not realizing that they had actually transplanted a different heart into you. It's important. It's that important. And you need to know, you need to understand. So watch that. And, oh, lastly, for this research portion, watch YouTube videos of other DSers. Watch their entire journey. Binge watch them before you get your surgery, because that way you do know what to expect. You know what recovery looks like. You know what their eating looks like. You know what their progress looks like. You know that there's the 3-week stall. You know that sometimes the scale will go up and the inches will go down. You know these things, and then you're prepared, and that will make a huge difference for you. The other thing that's really good are the obesity help boards. I say that with a caveat though, because there are a lot of people on those boards who are really harsh. I read them before my surgery, and I read them a little bit after my surgery, and I got fantastic information from them, especially regarding lab work and stuff like that. But I quit reading them simply because the people were not nice. And that is also why I don't do any duodenal switch Facebook pages at all. I joined the groups right after my surgery, and I unjoined them within a week. I mean, they were that bad. The people were unwelcoming, they were critical, they were not helpful, and not to me, but this was stuff that I saw geared towards other people. If they thought that somebody wasn't taking care of themselves properly, instead of trying to help them, they would just say, well, if you're not going to do it right, then we're not going to bother with you. Or if somebody had a question, they were new to their surgery and they had a question, and yeah, maybe it was a question that had been answered 8 million times on that website. But guess what? It was a new question for that person. Rather than typing out the one sentence or whatever it is, or just passing by it because you don't want to answer, instead somebody would snottily reply, well, if you would just go read the archives, blah, 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 blah. Please read or not even please, read the archives before you ask a question. And I'm thinking, geez, you guys, what is the point of having you people if you're not going to be helpful? So I do recommend that you go on Obesity Help. They are more helpful. Do go ahead, if you feel like doing the Facebook groups, try them. But just remember, there are jerks everywhere. And just because somebody's had weight loss surgery doesn't mean they're not going to be a jerk. It's the same cross-section of humanity that you're going to find anywhere. So, what the hell? I'm parked in the middle of nowhere, and some guy literally just parks his semi next to me. Here, look at this. Oh, you can't even see it because it's so bright. Anyway, sorry guys. It's annoying me. Here I am griping about people who aren't nice. Then I start griping about that guy. But literally, I am in an empty Target parking lot. There are so many places this guy could have parked. I tell you. So, that's number 1. Research surgery, post-life requirements before you get the surgery. Number 2, research your surgeon. Research more than your surgeon. Research several surgeons. Now, I realize a lot of you, your choice of surgeon is based on your insurance. For the DSers, that tends to be less true simply because there are fewer surgeons who do the DS. It is not as common. I think it's 1% of all weight loss surgeries in the United States are DS surgeries. And here on the West Coast, I know of 3 DS surgeons on the West Coast of the US, I should say. And I live in Oregon. There's not one in Oregon. There's one in the Seattle area, Dr. Srikanth. There's one in the San Francisco area, Dr. Rabkin. And there's one in the LA area, Dr. Kashishian. I researched all 3 of those, and I thought I was going to go with Dr. Srikanth. But then when I was doing my research, I also discovered Mexicali Bariatric, who are also here on the West Coast, but in Mexico. Mexicali is south of Palm Springs and southeast of San Diego, about 1.5 hours, 2 hours. And I ended up going with them. And I was a self-pay, so I could go anywhere I wanted to. I have insurance. My insurance would have covered a VSG or an RNY because that's what my in-network surgeons provide. There was not an in-network DS surgeon. And I had done my research, like I said in the first part, and I knew that I wanted the DS. And for me, the reason I wanted the DS was because I was getting my surgery to rectify diabetes. And the DS had the highest rate of rectification, over 99%. It also had the best rate of weight loss and weight loss retention. And those were both really important to me. I did not want to go through all this and then regain 40% of the weight that I had lost, which was what I was told would probably happen eventually if I got another surgery. I know a lot of people don't regain, but I knew myself, and I just figured that I would. So I knew that I wanted the DS. So I was specifically looking at DS surgeons. So I decided to self-pay so I could have the DS, and I researched all three of those physicians or surgeons, and they're all very good. And I narrowed it down to Dr. Srikanth and to Dr. Esquerra. Dr. Srikanth in the Seattle area, Dr. Esquerra in Mexicali. I ended up going with Dr. Esquerra because I kept reading that Dr. Srikanth's staff and their follow-up were not great. His nurse and his front office staff. And that was important to me. And it didn't matter to me if I had to drive 3 hours to see him or I had to fly 3 hours to see the other one. It's the same to me. My surgeon was not going to be in Portland. So it didn't matter to me which direction I went to go find my surgeon. Mexicali Bariatric, every patient that I found, every single one, raved about their care there and their follow-up care. And I have to say, I found them to be fantastic. Now, I know that I have met other people who did go to Dr. Srikanth, and they were very happy with it. And I'm not saying that he is not a good surgeon. He just wasn't the surgeon for me. And that's why it's important to research your surgeon, because it's got to be the right fit for you. For me, what I looked at when researching was how long they had spent training, because a DS is a very complicated surgery, much, much more complicated than the VSG. It takes about 3 times as long to perform, and you have to study, and not intern, but you have to kind of study alongside an experienced surgeon for quite some time in order to do it well. So I looked at that, how long they had been training and where. I looked at how many DSs they had performed, because if you read about any surgery, you'll find that one of the biggest indicators of the success of the surgery is how many times that surgeon has performed that surgery. So it's very important to me to go to someone who had performed a lot of DSs. I looked at how long you're in the hospital after the DS. That was one of the other reasons I didn't go up to the Seattle area, because he is known for having his patients out of the hospital within a day or 2. Whereas down where I went, you stay 4 nights. And boy, let me tell you, I needed all 4 of those nights. Even on the day that we left, I was surprised I was ready to go. I knew I was, but just the day before, I wasn't. I could not have left on the 3rd day. By the 4th day, or I guess it's 5th day, after the 4th night, I was. It was good. How many post-op leak tests? That's really important, because not only do you have your stomach cut, but you also have your intestines cut. So you've got a lot of opportunity for leaks in your gut, and those are killers. And so it's really important that your surgeon is spot on with their leak tests. For me, I had 3 3 leak tests before I was allowed to leave. I had 1 immediate post-surgery before I ever came out of the surgical theater. They ran blue dye through me to make sure there were no leaks. I had the second one 24 hours later before I was ever allowed to put anything in swallow anything. I was not allowed to put anything in my mouth until I had that second leak test. And then right before I left, on the day that I left the hospital, they did a barium swallow. So my 3rd leak test, and watched the barium go all the way down and all the way through everything, and waited to see if there were any leaks. No leaks. And then they recommended that 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I can't remember now, after my surgery, I go through and I do another barium swallow here with my primary care and check one last time, a 4th leak test, just to make sure that there were no strictures, nothing that was scarring badly, nothing that was twisted, nothing that was leaking. And I have to say, my radiologist here said, I don't know who did your surgery, but it is textbook. They get an A+. So I was really pleased. So that's important, how many post-op leak tests they do. Follow-up questions and responsiveness of staff. I kind of touched on that already. That was a big part of it for me because I knew that I would have questions, and I didn't necessarily need to talk to the surgeon verbally, but I needed to be able to have access to them via email or at the very least. And I have that. I have that for life, actually. And for my surgeons, not only do I have access to the surgeon, I also have access to a bariatric nutritionist and internist. And I can ask them any questions and they get back to me the same day. I mean, they're fantastic. So that's really important. The follow-up is very important. Surgeons tend to be a little less diligent with that part. That's not really part of their personality a lot of times. They are not diagnosticians. They're not follow-up people. They go in, they do their surgery, and they're done. So it's important for you to have someone around your surgeon who can do that. Number 3, immediately, as soon as you start deciding that you are leaning towards a DS, really towards any weight loss surgery, start lowering your carbs. Start changing your eating just slowly. Don't go on a diet. Just start making those decisions of, hey, I'm going to have a sandwich, but I'm going to take off one of the pieces of bread. I'm going to have an open face sandwich, or I'm just going to fold the bread over and have a half a sandwich. That kind of thing. I'm going to have eggs and bacon, but I'm not going to have the toast. So start lowering your carbs now. Start weeding out the junk food. Start weeding out the alcohol. Because if you can just do a little tiny bit at a time, then it's not such a big deal of, I'm going on this diet and on this date I have to cut out all this stuff, and then it becomes a whole thing, and that's when people have food funerals, and it's kind of a mental game. So instead of doing that, just start little tiny baby steps. And remember, nothing is off limits forever. And that was really important to me because that was one of the ways that I found I did not have any food funerals, because I didn't feel like there was anything that I was never going to be allowed to eat again. I felt like there were things that I was choosing not to eat now so that I could lose my weight. But that once I lost my weight, I could eat a small amount of it if I wanted to. So I think if you don't have that all or nothing mindset, you're going to be a little more successful. Number 4, prepare your family or close friends or whoever is your support system. Let them know. Have them watch that animation with you so they understand what's gone on inside your guts. Because let me tell you, when you come home and they look at your stomach, they're going to see 5 tiny little incisions about ½ an inch long a piece, or four that are ½ an inch long, 1 that's maybe an inch. And it looks like nothing. It looks like, you know, like you had cat scratches. I mean, it's very minimal looking. And you forget that inside, they've taken a mix master to your guts. Your stomach, 85% of that was hacked off and thrown away, pulled out through that bigger hole. Your intestines were cut into 3 pieces, sewn back together, and then had one of those pieces sewn into a spot that never had an intestine attached at that spot before. You've got a new hole where that intestine is connected, and then the other end of it has been closed up and tucked behind your liver. So there's a lot that's gone on in there. But when you look down at the outside, it looks like nothing. So you think, well, why am I taking so long to recover? This is no big deal. There's nothing, you know, you don't see all of those stitches like it used to be before we had laparoscopic surgery. They would do open surgery and you had a huge incision and stitching going all the way down your gut. Now you don't. You got these little tiny holes and all those sutures are inside. So prepare your family, because they will not understand just how painful this is afterwards for the first few weeks. Let them know you cannot drive, or you should not drive for 2 weeks after surgery, after DS surgery. You're on pain meds for one thing. Also, if you have to make a fast stop and you get thrown against your steering wheel or you get thrown against your seatbelt, you could rupture those stitches inside and then you end up back in surgery. Or worse, you don't know you've ruptured a stitch and you start to leak. Then you end up in the hospital with sepsis. It's very important for them to know that you need that time to recover. Let them know that you need their help with the pre-op diet, that it's not easy when you're doing your liver shrinking diet or your whatever pre-op diet your doctor puts you on. It's not easy to say no to pizza that's being cooked in your house and you're sitting there smelling it and you're looking at a list of things that you can eat that include plain yogurt and protein shakes and water. I mean, very, very unfair. So just let them know, you know, for the 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however long this liver shrinking diet is, I need your help. I'm probably going to need your help a little bit after surgery as well with that kind of thing. I'm not asking you not to eat it. I'm just asking you not to eat it in front of me. Warn them about the changes in your digestion. Warn them about the malodorous bowel movements, and warn them about the gas. It will make your life easier, and it will make their life easier. They'll be prepared. It won't be a shock. You know, buy whatever odor killers that you can. Change out the bathroom fan for a stronger one. Decide that if you have a guest bathroom that most people don't use, make that your bathroom. But let them know so that they're not shocked and think that there's something wrong with you. And then last, just let them know that without their support, you're sunk. You'll have spent all this money, gone through all this pain, all this effort, and it will be for nothing because you need their support. They are integral, and it's just, I don't think you can do it without the people closest to you being on board. Number 5, the liver shrinking diet. A lot of people are put on a pre-op diet and they don't understand why. They think it's to make them lose weight, but usually it's not. So some people do. If you're having insurance pay, sometimes they have like a 6-month supervised diet or a supervised diet where you have to lose a certain percentage of your body weight, that kind of thing. That's entirely different than the diet that you go on right before surgery. And most surgeons should put you on this. If they don't, you should put yourself on it. And the whole purpose of the liver shrinking diet is exactly what it says, is to shrink your liver. And the reason that is important is because your stomach sits here and your liver sits here, like this. In order to get to your stomach, to cut off 85% of it, your liver has to be retracted. The bigger and fattier your liver is, the more it covers your stomach, the more effort, force, tools it takes to retract it. Livers are very delicate and they bleed easily. Fatty livers, even more so. And a lot of people do have a fatty liver if they're overweight and or if they drink a lot of alcohol. It's very, very important to shrink that liver because you want that liver to be pulled up so that it just requires a little tiny bit of, pushing to get it off of the stomach so they have a clear view. They can take out that stomach easily without damaging your liver. You don't want your liver damaged. It will regenerate, but it's not a good complication to have. And it's very easy to shrink it. Follow your liver shrinking diet. If your doctor does not give you a liver shrinking diet, ask them about it, or go on like the American Medical Association website, someplace like that, the Mayo Clinic, someplace that is reputable. Don't just, Google liver shrinking diet, because who knows what you're going to get. Go onto a reputable medical website and get the liver shrinking diet from them if you have no other options of getting it from your physician or your surgeon. But do it, stick to it. It's really important. My surgery was estimated to take 6 hours and it took 4 hours and 20 minutes. And he said that the reason it took so little time was because my liver was so small, because I had stuck. He says, I can tell you did not cheat on your liver shrinking diet at all. And I said, no, not one bit. And I got to the point where I was so sick of the options of the liver shrinking diet, the last 24 or 36 hours before surgery, I just didn't eat anything. All I did was drink water because I was sick of it. But over my dead body, hopefully not literally, was I going to cheat on that liver shrinking diet and risk my health during surgery? So it also meant that I got to be under anesthesia for a shorter amount of time, which is a good thing. And last but not least, before you get this surgery, before you commit to the surgery, think the entire thing through. Think about the rest of your life, the changes you're going to make, the short-term changes that you're going to make that are going to be way more drastic. You're going to have to commit to that low-carb lifestyle for at least a year post-op in order to lose your weight properly. And that means no excuses. That means I don't care if you're stressed. I don't care if your kid baked you cookies. I don't care if your mother-in-law is the best Thanksgiving pie maker in town. You commit to that first year or you will not be successful. And if you are not willing to commit to 1 year of that, how are you going to commit to a lifetime of supplements? So make sure that you are committed for life to living the way you have to after duodenal switch. There's no going back. It is not reversible. Like the VSG. Once they take out your stomach, that's it. With the DS, they can extend your common channel so that you don't malabsorb so much, but they can never put your stomach back. Ever. So that's my advice on pre-op decision making for the duodenal switch. My next one will be what to do right after surgery. And I think that'll come next week probably. So I've taken up 35 minutes of your time. Sorry about that. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to post them down below or go on Instagram and follow me. But the thing is to make sure if you ask to follow me, your profile or your name has to reference weight loss surgery. It has to be an obvious weight loss surgery account, or else I don't accept it. I keep my weight loss surgery Instagram account private. And so if like your weight loss surgery Instagram is I don't know, Max Mama, I'm going to decline because there's nothing in there. And your profile says, mother and wife who loves life and getting healthy. You're going to get declined because I don't know that you're a weight loss surgery patient or a prospective weight loss surgery patient. If your profile says Max Mama WLS, then I'm going to look in your profile, and if it says, you know, mother and wife, living life, looking to get healthy, and researching weight loss surgery, or, you know, pre-DS or VSG or whatever, it just has to somehow reference the fact that you are a bariatric patient in order for me to accept you. And then once we follow one another, then you can always messenger me on Instagram and ask me private questions, because I'm always happy to answer them. I do it daily for people, and so don't hesitate. All right, you guys, enjoy the rest of your week, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.